What is going on, my Super Sandwiches? Rhymestyle here, and today I want to make a fun video in regards to Dragon Ball Xenoverse 2 and just overall talk about attacks that I want to see come back in not just Xenoverse 2 but future Dragon Ball games, period. So before I start, I want to ask you guys the exact same question. If you could pick only one, key phrase, only one attack that you've ever seen in previous Dragon Ball Z games or in the Dragon Ball series overall, what would that attack be and how would it work and why would you want to see that come back? Drop that down in the comment section below. Now, at the time you're recording this video, I have no clue what new attacks we're going to see in Xenoverse 2. Obviously, there have a bunch of new attacks shown off in the builds and all the gameplay that they've been releasing so far. So when we get to the point where we can see what attacks are in the game, we'll discuss that later. But for now, this is just basically going to be like a little discussion, fun discussion video to talk to you guys about what attacks you want to see come back in the future. So the way I'm going to do this is I have 7 on my list, and there's no particular order, and I'll tell you what each attack does and why I want to see it come back. So without further ado, let's get into attack number 1. Now again, remember this is in no particular order. I just picked 7 attacks and I threw them on the list. For my first one, I'm going to go with Goku's Meteor combination, which has been an attack that's been in every single Dragon Ball Z game up until this point, except for Xenoverse and Battle Z, I believe. Now, in case you don't know what that attack that is the move that initially Goku used against Piccolo in Dragon Ball, which featured a flurry of melee attacks, and then he finished him off with the Kamehameha. Now, the primary reason why this attack wasn't in Xenoverse 1 as well as Battle Z is because in the previous games it always requires some kind of cutscene to show off the attack, just because it was, like I said, it's a combination of melee attacks with a Kamehameha finisher, and because Battle Z and Xenoverse were more focused on real-time fighting, they took them away from that. Now, if you notice in Xenoverse 2, in the gameplay that I've been posting in the last couple of days, there have been a lot of attacks that are more longer lasting in terms of melee moves, like Kaioken Assault, for example, which features an attack that basically just sends your opponent across the map the entire time as long as you have ki. So it seems that Xenoverse 2 is adding these longer string melee attacks, super moves, that have been missing in Xenoverse 1, and with that said, that adds perfect opportunity to add a move like Meteor combination in the next game. So I'm hoping we see that return in Xenoverse 2. I mean, now to think about it, we can probably even have that as an ultimate attack because they do have that Kaioken Kamehameha that I showed off a couple days ago, which is basically the same thing. It starts off with like an assault of attacks and then finishes off with a Kamehameha. So they could probably do that as an ultimate in Xenoverse 2. Now again, I have no clue what attacks are going to get added in the next game, and for all I know, this might be in the game. But again, with Xenoverse 2 adding these attacks that kind of have longer strings of moves as a super attack or an ultimate, it has perfect opportunity to bring that attack back. Number 2 on my list is the Super Ghost Kamehameha, and this will be real interesting. Imagine like this is the way I picture this attack. Right now, if you do a Super Ghost Kamikaze in Xenoverse 1 as well as 2, I assume, I'm not really sure how much the attack changed in the next game. It basically fires out a Super Ghost that kind of sits there on the map, and then he pursues your opponent at some point and then explodes. But imagine instead of exploding, the ghost flies somewhere across the map and then fires the Kamehameha. So it's kind of like one of those moves where you have to pay attention to both your opponent and the ghost because you never know when he's going to attack you. I feel like this attack would never hit, but the whole purpose of the move would be to kind of add pressure to your opponent, like I said. Because imagine this, I mean, you're fighting in the heat of battle, they fire out a Super Ghost Kamehameha, and you have to basically now pay attention to where this ghost is going to blast you from. It could be afar, it could be behind you, and that I feel like would be more a strategic thing to do as opposed to more of an offensive attack. And I feel like that could be really, really fun to add strategy to it. So because of that, I want to see Super Ghost Kamehameha come back or get introduced in Xenoverse 2. Number 3 on my list is the Charging Ultra Boo Boo Volleyball. Boo Boo. So the Ultra Boo Boo Volleyball, of course, is the signature move that Gotenks used against Super Boo in a series, which basically featured him trapping him inside a ball and then playing volleyball. Now, this is the part that I don't really have down, and that's how it actually works. It could be a super move or it could be an ultimate move, but the idea is you trap your opponent inside a ball and then you just do a bunch of melee attacks. And again, seeing how Xenoverse 2 has had a bunch of these attacks that kind of go back and forth in terms of stringing attacks together in one super move, I feel like they could actually do that as a super move as well. But then again, they could also do it as an ultimate attack. So again, this is one of those things where devs will have a lot of freedom to figure out how to make it work the best. But either way, I want to see the Ultra Boo Boo Volleyball attack come back because it could be a lot of fun. And on top of that, it's very disrespectful. I mean, imagine that you're fighting your opponent, you're about to win, but instead of just, getting that easy victory, you want to go ahead and disrespect it even more by trapping in a ball and then playing volleyball. I feel like that could be a real troll way to go out when you fight people in Xenoverse 2. Number 4. So for number 4, I decided to go all the way back to the Dragon Ball days and bring back the Mafuba. Now, in case you don't know what the Mafuba is, of course, I'm talking about the Evo Containment Wave, as the English dub calls it. And basically what that attack did in the series is it was used to seal evil. So basically, if you're an asshole, I could just seal you away forever inside a rice cooker and then that's it. However, unlike the series, sealing somebody away and winning the fight would be kind of overpowered. So in this situation, I see it as a more of a move to seal your attacks. One thing I noticed about Xenoverse 1 is they never had any kind of attacks that sealed away attacks. I mean, they only had the attacks that if you do certain moves like Prepare to be Punished, for example, which sealed all your supers, but they never had any kind of offensive attack that if you use it on your opponent, it seals their attacks away. And I feel like Xenoverse 2 has a perfect opportunity to do so, especially with the recent news. I feel like adding the Mafuba could just be a nice touch to the game. I mean, imagine this. I'm fighting you, and I see you using your super attacks all the time, so I know you rely on that, and I pull off a Mafuba on you, and now for about 20 seconds or 30 seconds or whatever the time it is, you can't use those attacks. And now your opponent is forced to completely switch his or her fight style completely, otherwise they risk getting destroyed. I feel like adding more of those supportive kind of attacks like that could completely be a game changer online, and I would love to see an attack like that. Whether it be the Mafuba or any kind of seal, it would be awesome to add that in the game, and I'm hoping that we have something like that in Xenoverse 2. Number 5. So for number 5, I decided to have a little bit of fun here and add a trolley attack. One of the things that I really loved about Xenoverse 1 is they had many trolley attacks like the Power Dance or the Bluff Kamehameha, which were all very useful attacks. Now for my choice, I had the Close Beam. The infamous Piccolo Close Beam that we see him do in the Saiyan Saga when he magically makes clothes appear on Gohan. Actually, he's done it many times in the show. So now you're probably wondering, well, what the hell would a Close Beam do in Xenoverse 2? Question mark. It would do exactly what it did in the series, and it would just be basically a beam that hits you and then spawns a random outfit or something. The idea is if you get shot by the beam, it doesn't actually affect you in a negative way, but it makes you kind of stop for a second to like look down and be like, what the hell, bro? And then maybe we can have an animation or something that shows the character that gets hit by the beam rip the shirt off or something. The idea is this could be a fun attack in a 2v2 environment, because picture this. Me and player B are fighting. I shoot you the close beam. Player Beam then fires a Kamehameha while my opponent is kind of confused by the shirt that I just spawned on him. So I feel like adding the close beam could just be kind of like a little fun extra thing to do in Xenoverse 2. In fact, if you like the idea of the close beam and if you would equip it, if they had it in the game, I want you to hashtag close beam down below, and let's see how many of you guys would actually be down for an attack like that. Number 6. Now for number 6, I don't think I've ever seen this in the previous Dragon Ball Z game, but if I'm wrong, I'm pretty sure by now you've already corrected me in the comment section below. For number 6, I want to see the Multiform Technique get added to Xenoverse 2. Now the way I could see it working, and probably the only way I could see it working, just because again this game doesn't really feature any cutscenes, this could be more like a victory rush where you attack your opponent and then you do like a flurry of attacks. But in this situation, instead of just being one person, you split into like 3 or 4, and then you go into like a victory rush style melee attack where you're just kind of beating down an opponent. I think that could be incredible, and on top of that, it would just look epic. I mean, who here would not want to use the Multiform Technique? Who? Nobody. Everybody will use it. Like, it's awesome. So with that said, I definitely want to see the Multiform attack get added in Xenoverse 2 at some point in the future, if not already. And finally, drum rolls, number 7, I want to see the return of the Stone Spit. And again, I don't think I've ever seen Stone Spit get used outside of maybe a cutscene attack that the Buddha does as an ultimate. But the way I see Stone Spit working is it could be more of a stun attack. On top of that, what could be cool is because Xenoverse 2 already has the ability to kind of add that ashy effect that we see after you use Final Explosion, they could do the same thing. I do Stone Spit on you, you get frozen for a second, you break out of it, and then you're kind of left ashy. And again, the whole idea of the Stone Spit is to kind of add more of a support style attack that basically gives you a second to think about what you're going to do next. Whether you want to connect the super attack, an ultimate attack, or just keep the combo going. It could be a fun way to kind of connect attacks together. Now, I do want to point out that the Namekian race does have the Go-Go gun, which is an attack that we used originally in Dragon Ball, which basically zaps your opponent and then wraps him in that like weird purple stuff. It has attacks like that where it kind of stuns you and allows you to connect some combos together. So with that said, I don't see any reason why Stone Spit shouldn't be added as well, just because it basically it's the same attack, just different animation. One adds a purple thing around you, and the other one turns you to stone. So with that said, I would love to see more attacks like that kind of basically stall your opponent and allows you to kind of figure out what to do next, and that could be a fun little strategic factor to add into Xenoverse 2. So, that is my list. Now, of course, as of right now, like I said, just a disclaimer again, I have no idea what attacks are being added in Xenoverse 2 or what's going to be added in the future or any of that stuff. I just figured I'd put this together because I realized that Xenoverse 2 is adding a bunch of new attacks that are a little bit different than we saw in Xenoverse 1, and because of that, I feel like there's more room to add different attacks, like Meteor combination, for example. And with that said, I would love to see what you guys can come up with, so in the comment section below, you can only pick one. And the reason why I say only pick one is because it'll be a lot easier to read in the comments. I mean, if you want to comment multiple times and say, I want this, I want that, then I guess go for it. But in each comment, try to only have one attack that you want to see get added in Xenoverse 2 and how it'll work. Now, please try to think about how it would balance the game out, because obviously if you do something like, oh yeah, dead zone, I make the dead zone and you're dead, that won't make the game fun. So try to figure out how the attack could balance out and be not broken completely, and it could be a fun way to add it to the game. So drop that down below, and let's discuss potential attacks that could be added in Xenoverse 2. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed today's discussion, and if you did, feel free to leave a like rating below. Any other questions, comments, feedback, just drop me a comment or tweet me at Rhymestyle, and we can talk about Xenoverse 2. if you're participating in the Xenoverse 2 beta this weekend, I want you to hashtag beta down below because I want to see how many guys are going to actually be on the battlefield in Content City this weekend. And also comment which race you're going to make in the beta. I have no idea if it's going to be limited like it was in Xenoverse 1's beta where you can only choose a Saiyan or an Namekian race, but let's just assume for the sake of this video and discussion that every single race is available in the beta, in which case which one are you going to choose and why? Comment it down below as well. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed the rest of your day. My name is Rhymestyle and I'll see all you awesome super sandwiches in the comment section below. Peace.